Everybody's got a story. You just have to listen. Hola, I'm Joe Pardavila, and this is Good Listen. And if you're like me, you have a love-hate relationship with exercise. You love it when you're really into it, and you hate it when you want nothing to do with it. But my guest today is very much in love with exercise, so much that he's made exercise, fitness, and wellness his entire life. His name is Don Saladino. He's a celebrity trainer who's worked out with some pretty famous bold-faced names, and we're going to get into that later. But we're going to talk about how a ex-jock made fitness a career and what he's doing now to change the lives of people around the world. Don Saladino, welcome to the podcast. How are you?
Joe, it's great to be on, man. Thanks for the nod here.
Oh, yeah, of course. I'm honored to have you on because, it's funny. So, Don, I think both of us are Gen Xers. So we both grew up with the idea of our access to fitness was magazines. And for the kids listening who don't know what a magazine is, it was this periodical that came out once a month that had nice glossy pictures in it. But it was also very niche. It was kind of like the internet before the internet, where if you had an interest in something, there was a magazine for it. And for people that were into fitness, the mother of them all was Muscle and Fitness. And then lo and behold, little old Don grows up and he's on the cover of that magazine. So take us back to the early days of reading this stuff, because I'm sure you're one of those kids like me, clipping out the workouts and then taking it to the gym with you and working those reps, and then to be actually on the cover of the magazine. That has got to be a complete trip.
No, you know what? It was, God, you make me feel old now. I mean, magazine subscription. How about that? I remember magazine subscription. You would subscribe to a magazine. You'd receive it at your doorstep every month. Yes, I mean, it was a great form of education at the time, right? I even think because there wasn't the internet, the ultimate for a writer would be to contribute to a magazine. As for me being on some covers, yeah, I've been on probably a dozen covers. It's been a little trippy to see that at the time, and I'm grateful for it. And it's definitely one of those bucket list things that when I grew up reading those magazines, you are inspired and looking at the people on the cover. And I hope I was able to do the same for others.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And it's funny, Don, because I think, life gets easier for everyone. Everyone's, the quick fix, the instant gratification. But there was something about that magic of having to wait for that magazine once a month, where now we wake up and there's literally 1,000 magazines in our hand. But just that magic of it's my muscle fitness coming out. I'll get a new workout. There is something to that of the buildup, and now it's the joy is so quick. It's I don't feel like it hits like it used to when we were younger.
Well, I also think there's much better places to go do for that source. Like if you want to listen and you want to strategize and put together a really great program, now you've got so many great sources at your fingertips that now are able to deliver great content, and they're able to get their message out and they're able to scale that. The problem is I think that the coach and the influencer, the general public doesn't really know the difference. And the coach is someone that has dedicated their life to this craft. The influencer, and I'm not knocking them, is someone that puts up a lot of the things that they do. They're not focusing a lot on strategy when it comes to each individual. I always say with fitness and wellness, it's a puzzle for each person. And that's why so many people are so confused, right? It's, someone ends up reading off of a post that he or she did this, and they try it and they're like, well, I'm not responding the same way. And I'm like, well, it's a puzzle. Like those days of that novelty of taking a workout and running with it. Yeah, it was always fun back in the day, but I believe more in strategizing. What approach do we want to take? What time of the year is it? Where are your stress levels at? How do we strategize and figure out this piece of the puzzle?
That's cool. So let's step back a little, because for lack of a better word, I think it's easy to say, Don, that you were a jock. You were involved in a lot of sports. You did a lot of things pretty well. And so I would love to see how this transitions from being athletic to making athletics your career. Because traditionally, if you did that, you would have to do it as part of a team sport, or if you were an individual coach of tennis, what have you, golf. So how did you make the connection of, this is my passion, I love being athletic, love being in shape, to how do I make a living out of this?
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting question. So I played college baseball. I played at a Division I school in Connecticut called Sacred Heart University. had a great 4-year career there. Had a coach to this day I'm still close with. Played golf over the summer. Um, I was a 2-year captain there. I had a really good 4-year career there. And when I left and realized that I wasn't going to make it to the next level, I think, even in college, uh, everyone knew I was a good ball player, but they knew I was known for like as the fitness guy, right? Like everyone was coming to me for programs or questions or how did I get my body composition to that in college and nutritionally what I was doing. So I kind of was becoming a little bit known for that. So when I graduated college, I didn't really know much about personal training. Um, when I heard about it, I was like, well, these guys don't make money. And I remember having a conversation with my mother. I told this story, and she said, "Don't worry about the money." She's like, "You're right. I just want to do what I love. I'm not going to worry about the money. I just worried about working hard and educating myself and taking as many courses and doing internship programs or flying across the country and immersing myself in a 3-day seminar and just doing these things where I became better. And every time I came back, my clients were looking at me like, well, what do you have for us now? And what did you learn?" And it was literally that trajectory for me my entire career. I mean, I started as a coach in 99. I worked at a big box gym. I left there, opened my own training business that was very successful. Uh, as a young 22-year-old, I was making a lot of money. But it still wasn't enough for me. It wasn't about the money. It was just about what is the next step. I wasn't so worried about the money. I was just more worried about climbing and evolving. I always wanted to evolve from a business standpoint, physically, intellectually, from a training standpoint. And then I decided to open, my first of 2 gyms in New York City. I had one of them for 15 years. My 15-year lease expired May 31st of 2020 during the pandemic. So I was able, and I was planning on reopening. Like when people were originally asking me, like, "Oh, are you okay?" I'm like, "No, it's my decision." Like I was had the option to re-sign a lease, and I did not want to re-sign a lease because I had other opportunities out there that I was feeling much more fulfilled with, and that I was making a lot more money with. So it was a lot less risky and allowed me a lot more freedom. But that work element and continue to work hard, it's something that I've never uh, walked away from. I still work really hard. I'm still always trying to build. We're always hiring. We're always trying to find, new things that could help our team evolve. And, that's really exciting. But I think when I was in college, I knew no matter what, I was going to be in the fitness and wellness field. Like I couldn't see myself, not doing it. And now to be where I am today, you couldn't have predicted this. Like this didn't exist, back in 1999. You and I aren't doing this call virtually in 99. I'm not building, well, why am I, building $1 million gym in my backyard? Why am I able to assemble that? Well, you're bringing clients in. No, I can't bring clients in. It's a residential, right? Like how am I, well, what are you doing? Well, I built a virtual business. Well, what's virtual? Like this stuff didn't exist back in 99. So I think sometimes we get really obsessed with this evolution of, well, what am I going to be when I grow up? I was having the conversation with my client, Ryan Reynolds, and, you could have turned to Ryan 15 years ago and say, "Hey, Ryan, you're going to own, we're almost the exact same age. If you turned to Ryan back in 1999 and you were like, you're going to own a cellular company, he's going to be like, what's the cellular? What is that? What is that?" Like they were just what like a phone company? What the fuck do I know about phones? Or, you're gonna own a gin company. Like, gin? I don't drink gin. Like he would have said all these things. "Oh, you're gonna own a soccer team. Where here? No, oh, actually overseas. It's called football." I don't know European football. Like, how do how is it that we get into a specific line of work? And I think that's called evolving. I think it's called not being rigid. When I opened my first gym in the city, it was a golf fitness training facility. Okay, next thing you know, I'm training people for Hollywood. Like, how is that? I never wanted to do that. It was an opportunity that was presented to me. It was something that I was really good at. I am really good at. And, getting people ready for a specific milestone or for a specific job was something I was, really became known as one of the best in the world at. And I went with it. And I think that's one of the reasons why my book built the way that it did.
That's awesome. Really good. Thank you for breaking that down for me very succinctly too. Because it's funny because now the way you're reaching out to people is with technology. We talked about how like old school magazines, and now the way a lot of people do it is through an app, and you have the Don Saladino app. We'll get into that, and we'll talk about the challenge later. But I also want to peel back a little bit in terms of the idea of physical training mindset. So years ago, I was one of these idiots who did CrossFit. I was eating paleo. I was obsessed with it. And I would look around and I would see people who didn't work out, and I'd be like, what's wrong with those people? What, don't they know this is good for you? What's wrong? And then fast forward, you mentioned the pandemic. Pandemic rolls around. I'm like, yeah, I'm really just not in the mood to work out. And then I'll see people working out. I'm like, what's up with those people? Why are they working out all the time? So it's funny how, and you say evolution, like the mindset to grasp that not only is this good for you, but for your physical well-being, but also your mental well-being.
100%.
Is that the number one thing you see when it comes to when it comes to like your clients, either physically or virtually, just grasping that mindset of doing it? Because I think for most people, they're kind of like me. They kind of come and go. It's like people who do diets, like they'll diet for a few years and stop and come off. Like, tell me about how you're able to help people embrace that mindset of fitness.
It's a great question. I think it's something that when I approach fitness, call it, let's just call it wellness, because wellness to me is nutrition, it's overall health. So when we approach wellness, um, this needs to be looked at as a long-term investment. And I think what happens is a lot of people or a lot of coaches will assign to their client or themselves this really robust program, and it's just not attainable for most for a long period of time. Whether it's eating a certain way or training at a certain intensity, that's what they start relating to as the norm. And I think as a coach, you have to look at each individual and say, what is it they need? Think about that. It's a really powerful statement. What is it? Really powerful question. What is it that person needs to get from point A to point B? And a lot of times it isn't that A plus program that you're writing or that A plus diet that you're writing. It could be turning around and taking a minimalistic approach. And I think understanding the individual, if you're a type A, give it to me. I want to train hard. I want to do all this. That's fine. But that is such a small fraction of our overall population. Most people out there want it. They want to be like they want to be approaching this stuff the way that I am. They want to wake up excited to go through their routine. It's what I love to do. It's not, live a little. I'm living a lot. It's not hard. This isn't, I'm sorry to breathe. There's other things that are hard for me, but like this, I really enjoy it. I really love doing it. So that's really living a little for me. So I think it's understanding the individual and saying, what is it they need? And then as a coach, assigning to them that dosage of what it is they need from a training and nutrition standpoint, building confidence and seeing, do they improve? And if they improve, well, we're doing great. But I think a big problem out there is that we're going in with this one size fits all. We're just handing everyone this program and we're like, you got to do, this is what so-and-so does. If you want to, and a lot of times I find they don't need it.
Yeah, yeah, it's a lot. I've always been curious in terms of, like you mentioned earlier about the fact that coach and influencer. Now, it's kind of blurred for many people. Have obviously blended the two. You are a coach, but you're also an influencer.
I
Um,
don't know. I don't. I mean, do I influence people? Sure, but listen. I've trained over 40,000 1-hour sessions in my life. Like that's a lot of training, man. Like I'm not. I don't like. I'm not an influencer. Do I coach people? Do I try and influence positively? Yes. I just categorize them a bit differently. I appreciate the compliment of what you were getting at, but at the end of the day, I'll always be a coach that just trying to. All I'm trying to do is coach, and I'm trying to get my message out there, and I want it to be positive, and I want people to understand that most of us out there struggle with this stuff. This isn't easy for many people.
well said. So in 2004, I got to go to the Sundance Film Festival, and I was one of the first people. I don't know. I must have stumbled into this, but I was one of the first people to see the movie The Machinist with Christian Bale. And if anyone remembers that film or has seen it, basically Christian Bale plays a man who's eating himself alive from the inside, like emotionally. He gets so thin that you can actually count his ribs on the screen. So this was January of 2004. A few months before that, Don, it's announced that Christian Bale was going to play the role of Batman. You might
Yeah,
remember that.
yeah, I do. He looked great in that movie.
He looked amazing. So the movie plays, and then at Sundance, Don, I don't know if you've ever been to like a film festival like this, but after the movie plays, the cast and crew comes out, they say a couple words, and then they answer some questions. So mind you, this is January of 2004. He's about to start filming Batman with Christian Bale. We've just watched Christian Bale where we could literally count every bone in his vertebrae. Here comes Christian Bale looking like Batman. And everyone is like, what the F? Like, what the F? How did that person we just saw on the screen look like the guy who walked in it? So I'm getting into this idea of transformations and where you come in. You mentioned the fact that you're a celebrity trainer in terms of, coaching celebrities. I'm not saying that you're a celebrity trainer, but you coach celebrities. How do these transformations happen? Because for many people, it's like this. You can't. It's almost like you can't even believe your own eyes. So tell me about some of these transformations that you've been involved in.
Um, the transformations I'm involved in, I think, are a bit different than on a lot because I'm really focused mainly on nutrition and training, rest and recovery. Like from a supplementing standpoint, I do know, and I don't know Christian's protocol out there. I do not know if he took anything performance enhancing. I don't know, and I'm not going to point the finger and criticize. I think now a lot of actors are becoming more open about it, and they're admitting to the fact that they do take something for help, some type of performance enhancing substance. But I've never educated myself on it. I've been very vocal about this. A lot of the people around me know this. It's kind of what I'm known for is that I take really more of a natural approach. There's only so much we're going to be able to do with the human body in a certain period of time. And if you see an actor turn around and in 2 months they put on 30 pounds of muscle, and it's muscle, which most of the time they say it is and it's not. How are we going to know? You got to go in for some type of hydrostatic weighing, some type of DEXA scan, something that could quantify. Like when I trained Hugh Jackman for Wolverine, they said he put on 30 pounds of muscle. He did not put on 30 pounds of muscle. He put on 30 pounds, but it wasn't 30 pounds of muscle, right? Like maybe in that year we put on 10 pounds, 12 pounds of muscle, which is fantastic. And I was super proud of the work that we did with him there. But to put on 30 pounds of muscle, you're not doing that in a year unless you're taking some type of performance enhancing substance or unless you are some sort of a freak that is a quick responder and just responded exceptionally to training and nutrition. And it is possible. But in a nutshell, I've never seen someone put on that much muscle. Like for me to put on, 3 to 5 pounds of muscle, man, I always work hard, but everything is dialed in. Like you are, and I've done that. But with Christian, to be able to go and again, I didn't train him, but to be able to do that, I think is exceptional on any level.
Yeah.
I never want to devalue the work that anyone does, whether they decide to take it or not. It still takes work, but putting on, you know, that type of volatility with your with your weight, it's very tough to do naturally.
I think, and it's so funny. I mentioned 2004 earlier, but I think 2004 was demarcation in terms of the way we look at the male body because 2004 was when Brad Pitt's Troy came out. And all of a sudden, everyone who became a action star or was going to be a superhero eventually had to have the six-pack abs. I mean, literally from that point forward, if you were an action hero, you had to have six-pack abs. And then, of course, when people watch the guy on the big screen, like, oh shit, I want those six-pack abs. Of all the things you train, is that something you hear about? And how hard is it to really get those six-pack abs?
Six pack abs. I feel like we can all get them. I just do. Again, it's looking at your nutrition and your training and your rest and your hydration. And if we get it to a point that it needs to be, the body's going to change. But the problem is that people will jump into things for days or weeks and they'll commit and then they'll fall off. It's like I walk around all year long and my body fat's pretty low, right? But if I turn around and I deviate for a couple of days, I'll see it. I'll see it. Like I could see a difference. I feel more bloated. I feel like I'm retaining more water. So the average Joe out there that doesn't do this for a living, yeah, they're gonna respond a lot worse than I am, right? And they get discouraged a lot easier because they're not really understanding this as a process. They're more paying attention to a scale, or they're jumping on it and saying, "Oh my God, I lost 7 pounds in the last 2 weeks," and then one night I put back 3 or 4 on. Like I went to bed the other night and I woke up 7 pounds lighter.
How do you lose 7 pounds sleeping?
I was eating beautifully away on the trip, but we're eating very carbohydrate rich, fibers rich, high quality fats, good proteins. I was away in this wellness facility for days, and flew home. I was retaining water from the flight, right? But then I got home, and Woke up, I was like, "Oh, I wonder what I weigh." I got on the scale, I was 217. I woke up the next day, I was 210.
Wow. That's
So I'm like,
crazy.
but that's what I'm saying. It's like, but that's not real weight. I'm not 217. That's not real weight. That's what we all have to understand. And that's what people get freaked out over is they'll look at the scale. Oh my God, I weigh. Yes, you've gained a pound or two because we're starting to up your carbohydrates a bit because you're not getting enough fiber in. And your body is going to adjust over the next few weeks, trust me. And they either panic and have to jump ship or they trust the process. And guess what? Like we've done miraculous in my community right now. I've had tens of thousands of people come in. I can't tell you how many people we've upped calories on and gotten their energy level to increase, and they've changed body composition.
Let's talk about this community you built with the app, donsaladino.com. You do these monthly challenges, and we've set up a free access code. If you use Good Listen, the first 100 will get the free month of the March challenge. That's open now. So tell me about these challenges and the app.
Oh, awesome. Appreciate it. Yeah. So we created this app end of last year. Next month in March, you're gonna get 5 workouts a week. You're gonna get a full video library for those workouts. The workouts are beginner to advanced. It really comes down to the intensity of what we'll approach it with, and I will help you with that. You get a dumbbell only workout, and you get a gym program as well. So you can hop between the gym program and the dumbbell only program. Next month, we're gonna have Monday will be lower body, more squat emphasis. Tuesday will be chest, shoulders, tries. Wednesday, back and buys. Thursday will be more lower body with a deadlift emphasis. And Friday will be upper body. So we're getting some athletic performance in there though, but we're also getting some stuff that's going to help with body composition improvement. It's really the way that I like to train. It's really the way that I like a lot of my clients to train. It's having that performance physique approach. You're going to have the ability to ask me questions 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, and I answer them through video. So, Joe, if you ask me a question on a Sunday night, I'm answering you on a Monday morning. I'm calling your name out, and you're going to see me answer it. So, I put a lot of love and a lot of time into my community. You get a weekly Zoom call with me, which means you're going to be able to hop into a private Facebook group. The call can go anywhere from 1 to 3 hours. I answer everyone's questions. I call them out. We have discussions in this private Facebook group. And we close the month out with a deck of pain challenge, which is a 20-minute push-up challenge, men versus women. We use a deck of cards for that. It's a lot of fun. And we close the month out with a winner where they end up winning thousands of dollars in prizes from me. So all contingent upon their before after. So it really is a great community. We built this community that tens of thousands of people in it. And we've rolled it off into retreats. I'm hosting my 5th annual Don Tom retreat. It's going to be in Grenada. We're super excited about that. And, we were in Mexico the last few years. So, we're having fun. We're having fun with work.
That's awesome. So it's donsaladino.com/challenge. Use the free access code Good Listen. The first 100 people who use that will get that month challenge free. And it sounds like, Don, I could always, I consult entrepreneurs on business podcasts and stuff like that all the time. And I could see through the bullshit. And it seems like you're really passionate about your community. Like you don't take it for granted. Where does that come from?
God, I mean, I think it comes from the fact that I'm always a coach, right? And I started my first community challenge back in 2017. I did it when I had Drive 495 open. Loved it, but couldn't fully focus on it. And then come COVID, I just started hosting some free ones early on to just get people together to train, and didn't make any money off of it. And then realized that, there was a cool business opportunity, but more importantly, it was an opportunity to connect more people with each other that were very like-minded. And now I'm proud to say is that we're in over 80 countries now. Right. And we've changed a lot of lives, and it's been really, really fulfilling for me.
That's really cool. That's great to hear. Okay, so a couple last things before we wrap things up. In terms of these stories, you talk about the global reach you have. Are
Sure.
there any that stick out that you can share with us, and any that you're like, oh my god, like that sort of that make you pause and be like, oh shit, like X would not have happened if I wasn't here.
Yeah, a lot. I've got some pretty big weight loss people who started the journey, in a specific spot. One happens to be a friend of mine who's in here, right? Who just left here. We were talking about it today. 2 years ago, I met him, and the doctors looked at him in the hospital as he was having congestive heart failure and said, "Listen, we're going to make you comfortable," basically telling him that like he was dying, and he was dying. And then a group of my friends connected me with this guy's name's John Albacoco, and since then we've gone from 525 pounds to he's in like the 360s, 370s now. But most importantly, he couldn't walk 400 steps a day, couldn't walk without crutches, could hardly walk for 30 seconds. And now he's getting, 7,000, 8,000 steps a day, and he's completely changed his life. So for me, that's special. I've had, kind of biggest loser status. I had a woman that I met, who I've been working with now for 7, 8 years. She started almost 900 pounds, and she's in, I think she's around 4. She was in the late threes, probably around what John was, 360,
Wow.
370. Little setbacks because of health issues. It's been battles. So, that stuff from a number standpoint. But, I've had, cancer patients that were, just in terrible places, that were not living the lives that they wanted, that now are, in remission and have six-pack abs, and that are moms that are completely happy. Or I have a woman in New Zealand who just ran an ultra, and she's lost over 100 pounds and ran and she's 100 pounds heavier when doing ultras. Now she just keeps setting PRs and, losing weight. There's so many different people, shapes, sizes, cultures, different areas of the world that I'm fortunate enough to work with. And again, it's a puzzle, but that's one thing that I love doing, is helping each individual. The thing I think people are shocked about is they don't understand how I'm able to give the attention I give to everyone. But if you come into my challenge community, you're going to meet with me. You're going to talk with me. It doesn't matter if it's 2,200 people like I had last month, or if it's 500 people like I have this month. That's what's going to happen.
That's so cool. That's really good. All right. And lastly, my wife is a huge fan of Sebastian Stan. And if she had an option to leave me for Sebastian, she would go. She'd probably take our dog too. Tell me, what's Sebastian like in real life? Give me a little tidbit about Sebastian.
He's a good friend. I met Sebastian when he was getting ready before a play called Picnic. He came to me looking to make some body composition changes. He's going to be on a podcast I'm launching with Joanna and Chip Gaines. I'm launching it it's going to be March, April. We'll have the first few episodes roll out. Seb will be one of my guests after the Oscars. He's been a very consistent friend, always comes through. We always stay in touch. But again, in Hollywood, everyone lives very crazy lives and crazy schedules. But I'm telling you, Sebastian is one of the most real, nicest human beings you're going to meet. And I absolutely love him.
Wow. All right. Well, that's bad news for me. All right. Well, Don, thank you so much for the time. I appreciate you sharing your stories. We'll link the challenge in the notes. But thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, brother. Appreciate you.
And that's going to do it for this episode of Good Listen. If you want to burn some calories, hit that thumbs up button on YouTube. It's a small gesture, but it really helps my channel. And who knows, you might burn a calorie or two. If you're listening on Apple, a 5-star review would be awesome. If you're listening and watching on Spotify, 5-star review there would be equally as awesome. If you want to connect with me, find out more about me, check out past episodes, read my blog, go to joepardavila.com. But until next time, adios.